The another atmosphere model is called volumetric. This is also provides some control to us, but what's most interesting is provide very nice fog and haze control as well. Again, it's just a step below the standard spectral, but it is provide some control for the density for our atmosphere. So we have full sun control as an other one standard. We also have a light control, which provide for us same properties with a different lighting models we can go. Also provide the clouds. However, we can load it a little bit better clouds now. We can load it volumetric clouds, which will apply properly in this case, but we still cannot total load it clouds with a spectral type. So for example, if we preloaded low cumulus clouds, you can see we have them right here, but they're not necessarily, they work as a layer. They do not work well as the real thickness clouds. So we can go to remove them, but we leave it complete clouds. And similar to other ones, we have it all same altitude, thickness, near horizon, cover, density, global exposure, light, contrast, global illumination, near sun. So they're similar to previous because it just still have only one layer, but they're adding complexity to add fog and haze. And in some renders, when I needed more depth of the atmosphere but don't need necessarily this overhead of spectral atmosphere, the volumetric will work just great. So you can notice beside the clouds and the fog and haze, we have options to add density, fallout. We also have better control on a haze, so we can add control over density and thickness of the haze. And we also now have a glow intensity, which allowed how many particles inside the air bounced and how much they will affect glow. Right here you notice again slider, even it's go 200, same, you can always go ahead and add more, which provide more interesting glow effect. Because it is particle render, you want pop-up quality to reduce some of the graininess effect. Let's just bring in a bit more fog. Okay, and we can kind of render and preview in a second. Same the wind, the effect, rain and snow, the same to other model. Mostly you will find the difference between this and standard. It's now better render on volumetric, more correct kind of calculating on the thickness of atmosphere. So we can go bring this up. So we'll have it kind of more dense effect. And let's go ahead and render this. Okay, you notice as a render completed, we have a nice thickness. And again, in some instance, if you need to adjust this effect, you can always use it volumetric render. So it will use it this atmosphere settings with calculations. Okay, let's go ahead and look now on a spectral. So this was for some time the workhorse of the woods, one of the main atmosphere, and recently was upgraded to photometric. So the standard will provide you with the same options for the sun. So we have a sun size. You also notice now we have a size sun corona. So what this does, it's when we have a sun up front. Okay, let's go move right here. Okay, you'll notice the corona will provide this glowing around the sun, how far it can go. Sometimes you can go to very sci-fi-ish look or a little bit smaller. So let's go make a smaller sun for this case. Next, we have a light tab. The same options, except notice right here we do not have any decay options anymore. Now the decay will have it inside the sky, these group options. In this case, the decay was calculating properly based on the height of the atmosphere. So, but we still have an ambient light, which is going again, take a little bit darker. Okay, you can see it's just with the settings, it gives it a little bit better saturation. Is what I like to use it. Okay, we also have it clouds. In this case, with a cloud, we can start using spectral clouds. The different on the side, the spectral clouds, if you notice, this is a truly volumetric. So we now have an actual thickness of the layer of the clouds. So we can increase the thickness. And before, even it was just one layer, just kind of flat layer on top. Now this is truly volumetric. So we can take our camera and actually position inside the cloud layer, and we can fly through the clouds or above the clouds. Okay, so let's go ahead, give it a second, let's render and preview. So you can see in preview we have this cloud layer over the ground. So it is render like realistic clouds layer, which is make more interesting. Then also, when we work with the clouds, we can go and modify inside our material editor. Notice right here as a cloud we're modifying, so flat layer, volumetric 1 and volumetric 2. So you cannot access those ones from material editor itself, but when you access cloud editor, the special models is available for you. They're always same. We have a density on a cloud. We also have options for the cloud modulations, and those has allowed us to manipulate with the clouds of set altitude, how they interact with the terrain or with the mountains. We also have options for clouds details and custom profiles of the clouds. So we'll look a little bit more in advanced series of tutorials on creating clouds and shape clouds, how to do this. Okay, we have also large scale density. This is used for the planetary size, for the large scale type of the planet view. And again, back to lighting, we have the same options for the cast, internal cast shadows, ambient lighting, force, ambient lighting, color if we need it. And this is in case if I want color it a little bit different or unusual effect. Okay, and also global transformation if I see some uniformity in the clouds and I want to break them, so I can use it turbulence, rotation, or cycling. We also can enable dissolve near object. Example, if we have a big mountain and we want clouds don't intersect but kind of smooth dissolve like in real world, we can enable and work with accuracy, softness, and distance, control how fast the dissolving closer to the object. Okay, so let's click OK. This is how we can modify clouds. We can change the scale of the clouds applied, as well before cloud animation direction, velocity, and rate of change of the clouds. The overall properties we have it now more because the clouds are more sophisticated and they have it thickness and real depth. One is altitude, that we can modify the clouds by moving them up and down directly in an editor or through the atmosphere editor. We can modify this way. We can modify height, so it's overall we increase, you can see the over height how tall it is. Okay, beside modifying height, we can modify cover, percentage of the covering, and as well density. So right now you can see it's 990 dense default on low clouds, and if we touch slider, it's go back to the 100 bit light, and we can actually decreasing. So let's go put it this to 0.2. And again, you can notice just maybe a little bit more density on the cloud. Okay, and we also have an opacity on the clouds. Okay, some clouds will allow you to create sharpness and feathering. And those properties you work actually when you work with volumetric layer version 2. So if you switch to this one, you'll notice right here now we have sharpness and feathering available for our clouds. Sharpenings will bring edge, and feathering how far these clouds will spread out a little bit. So manipulating with those will bring us a little bit more natural look. We also have a detail amount as well as altitude variation. Altitude variation will add to the top how much it will stay in single line or kind of variate on the edges. So normally I like put this up. Detail amount, it's have a very nice effect, but those kind of twisted. I add all these details, but problem with them, if you add too much, the clouds look very close to the ground, so you need know on what altitude, because if we're going very high altitude, as usual, it's less details, so you kind of want to go between them. Next, we have ambient lighting. It's a balance between ambient lighting and sun lighting, similar before. And another option is shadow density, because now our clouds is cast shadows directly on the ground. We can modify what shadow density we want them produce on the ground, 100% or a little bit lighter. Currently, because our density is not that high, we don't see that much shadow density. However, we can increase a little bit more, which is, you can see right here, we start having those shadows casted on our ground. Okay, so next what we have, it's sky, fog, and haze. And this has allowed us to control not just ground sky overall height, it's allowed us to control decay, haze, glow from the sun and area. Let's look closer on some of these properties. First, the sky ground density and sky mean altitude. It doesn't mean height of the sky, it's mean altitude, which is the middle of the density. So in this case, it will be about 6.4 kilometers, maybe even 7. So we can increase this a little bit or take it down, but what I want with the decay, I want to take down. It's too yellowish, so bring a little bit down there, and the same as amount. It's you want to keep it maybe a little bit just below your sky mean altitude, but again, think about this decay. It's how light start coloring with all this pollution and particles inside the air, so it's depend how much you want to apply it. You can increase. Haze ground, same things. We have it increase how much haze will apply through all atmosphere, and normally you notice it's a 4.5 kilometers, so it's quite a bit high, going right there. Can take this down. And ground fog density, this is a lower ground and it's normally a little bit wider, so we can take a little bit down, increasing. So you have a haze, which is provided by particles or dust inside the atmosphere, and a fog, which provided by water particles inside the atmosphere. So they have different type of the glowing as well. So right here, sky fog, we can modify the ground density. Glow intensity, it is specify how much glowing going from the sun. However, scattering, it's a power and how far it's going from the sun. So we can take glowing, the distribution from the sun decreasing a little bit. Let me go inside the cloud and just hide for now, so we can see sun right here. As well, let's go open main camera and okay, and I want to turn it off of the exposure so we can preview a little bit there. So right here, when we have the glow intensity, just notice if we increase high, how much it distributed from the sun. Okay, so the next we have it scattering. It's how much these lights will go from particle to particle and spread out. So if we reduce scattering entropy, you can see how much it's come closer, and if we increasing distributed, so we can go to negative, or we can spread this more far away. Also, cloud will be same applied if we have a cloud layer in a light. So in some cases, if you want to kind of make a sun, we can reduce slightly and just spread a little bit so we have it more natural. Again, right now sun is kind of a little bit lower than we can see right here our azimuth, so we can pop up it's a little bit higher up, which is natural, will decrease some of this haze. Let's go in a fog, we take a density down on the fog and sky, so we'll add blue, and you can see right now how we have it decay in this glow intensity come to bring our some little bit bluish inside to our sky. Okay, next, global settings. Aerial perspective, it's allowed us to set altitude for our atmosphere, and in some cases it's easiest way to bring this density of the atmosphere. So if, for example, I set to the 10, you can see like right now how much glowing and dense do we add to our atmosphere. So in some cases, it's easiest way to do, it's fastest and easiest way. So we'll pop up atmosphere haze. Let's pop up this one to 25. And you can see right here in the preview, we have a nice heavy atmosphere, dense atmosphere with a lot of particles inside. So it's kind of one small trick how to do this. Okay, so let's go in the next, we'll look closer on effect, rainbow, and other properties.